Hello, everybody. Back again. Lake Station Community Advocate and Educator, Part 2 with transparent local accounting and actually how quite important it actually is for residents to know. So I hope you came prepared with some listening ears, pencil or paper, and I hope that you're ready to learn something because, trust me, you're probably going to.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's learn.
So here's something we need to think about. Our city budgets, because they're in the public, do you believe that they are being truthful because they're in the public's view, in the public eye, or that you can find that paperwork? Do you believe that those administrators who are putting that out there being truthful with that information? But here are some things also, and this is some stuff that we need to think about. It's called the GASB, or the Government Accounting Standards Board. And what they do is they oversee private sectors, independent sectors, and they oversee that their financial practices and the way that they present their budgeting and their statements to the public. So it could say, well, these statements and these budgets are actually balanced when in reality they're not. And we're going to get to that in a moment. So things like OPEB, which are your other post-employment benefits or your other pensions that go to your fire department, your police departments, other weird things that fall through the grate, they get filtered out that the budgets don't actually catch. It's there, but it's not. So this is why transparent local accounting is super important. Oftentimes, they get buried in supplemental budgets and statements that the public really just never sees. And remember that because of the GASB, state and local governments are required to pass a balanced budget. So even if it's not balanced, they have to pass it anyway. And following the GASB guidelines, most of the time the reports are not actually in fact balanced. They just have to do that because that's what is required. And I know it doesn't make any sense because you're like, well, why would they allow them or tell them they have to pass something balanced that's not actually balanced? Well, because that is the nearsightedness of the GASB and what they look at. So, it's nearsighted in the sense of that the balanced budget shows here, now, before, what have you, but it doesn't actually show the future expenditures, the future benefits that are going to be paid. It doesn't show all that future stuff. And you would assume, yes, right? Because in our homes, when we go to budget, well, I got a budget for next month's bills, next month's mortgage, next month's gas, next month's food, blah, 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 blah. We budget ahead, whereas cities it's a little bit different. It's already like here and gone. They don't show the future investments. So it's pretty nearsighted with those standards. And I also want everybody to understand and remember that investors buy and sell municipal bonds, and bond ratings are of their focus, not the actual fiscally responsible balanced budgets that actually do well for the residents. They are just there to get their bond money back. They don't care about nothing else. We all know how Wall Street works. They need their money. But transparent local accounting is actually super and deeply important to residents because it holds those leaders that are accountable, that are taking our money and our finances, and it's making sure that they are putting it exactly where they said they promised us when they were out campaigning for us to vote for them. It basically forces them to be held accountable and to be responsible with our money, and they ought to have some integrity about that, and they ought to be honoring the residents who are drawing this attention because that's pretty honorable. That's a good thing for residents to be of this nature. But in my last video, like I explained, here's an idea. Well, we put up 2 new big businesses, or we brought the new dollar store in town. Okay, here's a problem. In that portion of town, let's say in that district or that precinct, your infrastructure debt is probably in upwards of 50 to 60 million. I want you to think, is that little Dollar Tree going to bring in, or that little dollar store, or that little thing, is that going to bring in the amount of taxes that will pay off that infrastructure debt? Oh, probably not, and it ain't going to happen for the next 20 to 30 years. And let's say they bring in a grocery store, an expensive grocery store, right? You bring in a grocery store, it's not going to bring in the amount of debt or the amount of capital or head that they need to pay off the infrastructure debts in that area. So while it looks like new development, there's debts that are still needing to be addressed and paid off, but they're selling it as, oh, hey, it's a new grocery store, it's a new Dollar Tree, it's a new gas station, it's a new liquor store, whatever the case is, it's not going to bring in that amount. Now, here's the thing. Let's say in this precinct you have $30 million of debt for some infrastructure. And in another across town, you have another 20 or 30 million. And over here, you have another 15 million. These little developments are not going to bring in that amount of debt. And so how do we manage this? How do we go about this? Well, first we need to realize that this is not a way of doing business, that things need to be done differently. So hopefully I want you to chew on this a little while, and I want you to think about what I'm saying. And maintaining infrastructures is always going to be cheaper than repairing. Maintaining it is preventative, meaning, okay, it may cost us a little now, right now, but it's going to save us millions of dollars of debt much later down the road. It's going to save the residents much money later on, millions and millions of dollars. People don't look at it like that because they need your votes. They want them now. And it's not going to happen because there's bond investors involved oftentimes. And the only way that that's going to go into the community is if you pay off that bond investor and what the city owes them. And basically a bond is just a loan, basically. It's like, here you go, we're going to give you this much money, but you better put it where it needs to go. Now, the problem is by the time the residents find out in the transparent local accounting, you don't even know where that bond money went. They'll promise you things, but doesn't mean it's where it went. So I want you to think about the community the next time that a grocery store, a gas station, or a liquor store pops up, or we have great developments going on. Those developments are nowhere enough even together to pay off the infrastructure debts that we have with our sewer, water, electric, and other things. Or let's say even our sidewalks that are needed for people to enjoy their communities better. Oh, well, then do we just argue and just say, forget about the infrastructure, just let it fall apart, the state will save us? Surely not. So I want you to think about the next time when city officials or administrators say, oh, well, it's all online, you can find our statements, you can find our budgeting, well, why don't you come to a budget meeting? Well, quite frankly, budgets have to be balanced by law, but it doesn't mean that they are. And quite frankly, we need to hold our leadership accountable. We need to hold them to some transparency and demand these things, because if we don't stop, it's going to continue to get worse and continue to get worse. And remember, like I said, if you're in one precinct and they put up a dollar store, but the infrastructure debt in that precinct exceeds by far what that grocery store or what that dollar store is going to bring in the next 20 or 30 years, it was meaningful. It was basically meaningless debt, even though everybody's like, well, we really need it. Unfortunately, it's not actually helping. So I know it seems like an argumentative thing, but I want you to think about differently when you look at your community in a new way. So for your bus ride home, enjoy, relax, enjoy your day. Check out Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook, Lake Station Strong Local Conversation, and Lake Station Strong Towns Advocacy and Education on YouTube. And obviously, if you're here, you know where I'm at. Hopefully, you have educated yourself in a little bit new area, or maybe now you're just a little curious. I hope that you are. I hope that you challenged your way of thinking, the way things have been done within our community. Be an eagle, don't be a crow. Challenge the status quo, because if you don't, you never know what you can achieve alone or together as a group and for yourself as a community. Be sure to demand some accountability. Be sure to watch your leadership for integrity, meaning doing the right thing when no one's looking. And some transparent local accounting will go a very long way for our community. Until next time.